as it opened up the heavens, reminding me of who I've always been. I am your beloved, you have bought me with your blood, and on your hand you've written out my name. I am your beloved, one the Father loves. Mercy has defeated all my shame. There's no
That's starting okay? Should I pray? Right now?
Good morning. It's good to see you guys. I am glad that you're here. I have a few announcements to make you aware of. The first, I have some announcements to make that aren't slide related, okay? The first is at 1 p.m. next Saturday, Mark Edwardson and a group of available people are going to gather over at Linda's house and help with the lead. So if you can help with that, let Mark know. If you've already told him you could help, that would be great. Or Mark wasn't able to be here this morning, but if you'd like to help her be a part of it, you can let me know, and I can also let Mark know that he has an idea of how many folks are going to be there. But 1 o'clock next Saturday is supposed to be nice weather, so it won't be cold. So at least that's what the forecast said. We know this is South Dakota. But anyways, that's the first announcement that I wanted to make you aware of. And then now we can jump onto the slides. Wednesday night Bible study. We've had a good little group started to come and attend, but we always have room for more. And so I'm going to keep announcing it until I feel like you believe that it's real and that it's there, because it exists. So just come and check it out and be a part of it. And then if you come and don't like it, you can tell me. You can be like, dude, that's terrible. I don't want to come back. And I'll be like, okay, that's fine. I'll go home and cry. But then, I'll accept it. So anyway, that's Wednesday night at 6:30. And then next thing we need you to be aware of is that we mentioned this last week. This is the last Sunday of October. Next Sunday will be in the month of November. And at the end of November, we're going to have a kind of a potluck meal on the 27th. We're calling it Friendsgiving. And we're just, the church is going to provide a meat. And then we just ask you guys kind of bring sides, casserole, whatever, Thanksgiving leftovers if you have a lot. Make them look nice. Sprinkle cheese on it, heat it up, and you'll never know the difference. And invite your friends. And just a time to get to get the word out and say, hey, come check out my church with me. We're having a meal and we want you to be a part of it. That's going to be on November the 27th. And then one last thing, just to let you know, is toy drive for Lakota Chapel. Just bring new unwrapped toys between now and December 4th. I know we've gotten a couple of toys in today. And when you bring them, you can just sit them there on the bench out in the foyer, and then we'll take them and I'll put them away where we're holding them. And but yeah, we really want to be able to bless them. We've done this every year for them. The big thing that we do, like Bridge Kids will go like the last Wednesday before, they'll go shopping and buy a bunch of toys and stuff for them. And I mean, we'll still do all that, but personally, I don't want to depend on the Bridge Kids Wednesday being the way that we get the most toys. I would love for us to, like, when the Bridge Kids go shopping, like, I want them to have to buy stuff because they're trying to match what we have, and they still can't get clothes. I'd love for us to be a blessing. This Christmas store that Lakota Chapel does is a huge blessing to our community. It really, really is. And the more that we can help them, the bigger the impact can be. And that's what it's all about. We want to make a difference. They don't just say, hey, here's the toy. It's very gospel-centered. It's all in the love of Jesus. And it's just a very impactful, profound way to help people not only understand the true meaning of Christmas, but also that Jesus loves them. So, again, we have a month or more to get those toys in. But, please, 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 the toys have moved. The garden center is Christmas land at Walmart now. But they still have the clearance toys over there on the side. So check those out, get you a couple of them, bring them, drop them off. We'll get those to the Chapel. And then last slide, no, that was the last slide. Last announcement, no slide. Next Sunday, next Saturday, make sure you fall back. with your clock because God intended time, I think is what it's called, start. Because you can't save daylight. So I don't know what standard time, whatever. Daylight savings time ends, which is I'm thankful for because I am so tired of taking my kids to school in the dark. And my son, because when we get to elementary school, I'm like, I open the door and I'm like, hey, there's a car coming. Don't jump. And he jumped out in the middle of the street. I'm like, if he lives to see daylight savings time end, it'll be a miracle. So, but for church reasons, make sure you fall back, because if you don't, you're going to show up and the worship team will probably be rehearsing and they'll look at you funny. And they're like, hey, are you here to join us? And they'll rope you up there, and guess what? You'll be singing next week, and you never even thought you could. You'll experience a whole new way to worship. So, yes, the next Sunday, don't forget, fall back Saturday night, daylight saving time. That is everything that I have for you. Actually, that's everything I have. Chris has something that he would like for you to be aware of. That's okay. I'm thankful for technical difficulties because you caught me off guard with this, and I was probably going to cry. And so now I've had a chance that I won't. So in future, if you want to make me cry, let's do it at the end of church after the preaching. I don't have anywhere to be. It's up to you guys. I'm here all day. I know I should tell a joke. I don't know if I know any church. Brando. So a priest, a rabbi, and a Southern Baptist preacher walk into a bar. The joke is the Southern Baptist preacher was already. It's more funny if you're. Say, huh? I still cried a little bit, but it wasn't the uncontrollable, ugly crying. So, and I just want to know how much you had to pay Brian to hold up the thank you sign. So, oh, you made it. So, well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. That is incredible, more beyond words. And, I love doing what I do. I love being your pastor. Hope to continue to do so for many, many years to come. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of times I question myself if I'm doing a good job or if I'm making a difference or if I should quit because I think you deserve better. So I need stuff like that to know that, hey, that I am appreciated and that God's doing a good work here. And I'm just I'm so glad that you need to be able to make a difference to you. So it was definitely worth the wait. Thank you so much. Let's stand and let's just continue as we worship together and let's sing together.
When he told you you're not good enough, when he told you you're not right, when he told you you're not strong enough to put up a good fight, when he told you you're not worthy, when he told you you're not loved, when he told you you're not beautiful, that you'll never be enough. He is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear, he is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear in the fire, 'cause fear, he is a liar. When he told you you were trouble, you'll forever be alone. When he told you you should run away, you'll never find a home. When he told you you were dirty and you should be ashamed, when he told you you could be the one that grace could never change. Oh, fear, he is a liar. He'll take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear, he is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness, in the fire, 'cause fear, he is a liar. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. Let your fire fall, your love is all I fear. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. Let your fire fall, your love is all I fear. Oh, let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. Let your fire fall, your love is all I fear. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fears. Let your fire fall, your love is all I fear. Oh, fear, he is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear, stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he could love me, a sinner condemned unclean. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. He took my sins and my sorrows, he made them his very own. He bore the burden to Calvary and suffered and died alone. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. When with the ransomed in glory, his face I at last shall see. 'Twill be my joy through the ages to sing of his love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you that we could gather together this morning. I thank you for your love, your kindness, your mercy, your patience. We just praise you for your creation and all that you've done, Lord. I just pray that as we gather together this morning, you would be with us. We know that you'll be with us, and I just pray that you would help us to acknowledge that we would be aware and to just embrace our time together with you and with each other. Be with Pastor Brand as he prepares to speak. Give him the words to speak and give us the ears to hear, the hearts to receive, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down and surrendered now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Yeah. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. All right, you may have a seat. Kids, you can go downstairs.
So we've reached the end of the series that we've done this month. It's called Simple Money, Rich Life, based on this book here. Author's name, I don't know how to say his last name. I call it Lotich. Lotich. I usually pronounce stuff wrong, so don't look at me for pronunciation. But this is a very good book. I really appreciated the values and the principles that were taught in this book about money and finances and trusting God. And I don't want to say it opened a lot of new doors for me, or I guess deep down it's things that I would say that I knew, but it really reinforced a lot of principles and made me think about things when it comes to money and possessions that I haven't thought of before. And the best thing about it is this isn't just Bob's opinion. He has scripture to support it, and I don't think he really uses it out of context. And is this book your cure-all for a financial disaster? No. This is just it's a strategy. It's a guide. I think if you follow the principles he talks about, you'll be better off. I really believe that. But I really appreciate what I've learned in this book. I hope that you've taken a copy. I hope you've begun to read it. I hope that maybe if you haven't finished it yet, maybe you're working your way through it. It's definitely one of these books that you probably need to read through a couple times to gather the full scope of it. But the good thing is when you get to each little work section, the book talks about it, refers back to pages, and you can go back and reread it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope that you have. We have 2 more copies. There's one back there and there's one right here. If you haven't got one, take it. Like I said, it's not going to make you a millionaire overnight, but it'll open your eyes, and it'll give you peace. I think that's the best thing. It gives peace. That no matter where you find yourself financially, you're okay. If you're sitting on a pile of, if you're Scrooge McDuck this morning and you just got a garage full of gold coins, you're okay. And if you're sitting there and you got 2 pennies to rub together and that's all you got, hey, guess what? You're okay. That we're all in this thing. It's all God's, and God is in control. Let's turn it over to Him. And that's really the purpose, the preface of this book, allowing God to be in control of everything, especially our finances. And at the end of the book, the last sort of principle that he talks about is how to just enjoy the blessings that God gives us. How to, we need to focus on earning and making and saving and giving. But at the end of the day, if we don't enjoy it, then what's the point? Like, yes, we're meant to glorify and to honor and to serve God, but we're supposed to enjoy it in the process. And here's the thing about these principles that the book talks about, and the best way I'll try to summarize it, think of it like this. There is nothing better than when you walk into a house and there's fresh bread being baked. You know what I mean? Like even Subway, when they're baking the bread, smells good. It doesn't smell good the rest of the time when they're done baking the bread, but when that bread is baking, man, it smells good. And I love fresh baked bread. I love banana chocolate chip. You ever had that? Good. And zucchini bread, you may have. But some fresh, like, sourdough bread, it's so great. And not only does it smell good, it tastes good. Bread is just good. And we know this, when you make bread, it's not complex. There's just a few key ingredients. Like if you're making just a good old loaf of bread, you need flour, you need some water, you need some salt, you need some yeast. But here's the thing, if you forget a key ingredient, the outcome is quite different than what you're expecting. And maybe you'll have to learn the hard way. If you've ever forgotten, especially, let's say you ever made bread and forgot to add yeast to the bread. And even though most bread, when you make it, calls for just the tiniest amount of yeast, you wouldn't think just that little bit of yeast would make such a significant impact, but it does. Because if you forget to add that yeast, you'll end up with this brick of cooked dough that you can't eat, but it makes a great doorstop. If you've ever made this mistake, then you'll realize, oh man, I didn't think it'd be that big of a deal if I forgot the yeast. Oh, but it is. It is. If you want that perfect loaf of bread, it is so important to add all the key ingredients. And the same is true when it comes to living a biblical life. And if we're going to have to follow godly financial principles. So yes, we should earn and we should save and we should give, but we need to enjoy it. Because we're using our money for God's glory. But all 4 are necessary for a healthy and balanced life. All 4 of these components work together to help us achieve a rich life and have a significant eternal impact. But just like with our bread recipe, if we leave out just one ingredient, then we probably don't end up with the desired result. If we earn all we can just to store up treasures for ourselves here on earth, I mean, that's short-sighted. If we give all we can, but our spending is out of control, then we're missing all these other opportunities. If we save and earn and give all we can, but we don't enjoy the process, then I really feel like that we are missing out on the abundant life that Jesus promised. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 17 through 19, there's a good point here that Paul makes when he's writing to Timothy. He says, teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. Tell them to use their money to do good. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will be storing up their treasures as a good foundation for the future so that they may experience true life. Now here in 1 Timothy, this is Paul speaking directly to the people who he says are rich. And maybe you think you get a pass this morning because you're saying, oh, I ain't rich. Well, just bear with me, okay? Because I think this serves as a reminder for us that we need to find our contentment in God, but it also reminds us that the things that God gives us, including our financial position, they're meant to be enjoyed. But how can we actually enjoy things like saving, earning, and giving? Well, it's all right here. It's all right here in 1 Timothy 6. We have to learn to enjoy God's gifts when we have God's standard of progress. We have to learn to enjoy God's gifts when we have his standard of progress. Paul said it so well. He says, listen, riches are uncertain. Our financial plans are in the hands of the Lord. Listen, how many know, especially this year, what I'm talking about? Okay? Inflation killing us, man. Killing us. Grocery bills are up. Everything is up. Although I'll tell you, I was complaining the other day about how interest rates are up 7%. Oh, what the heck? And my dad told me when he bought his the house that I remember growing up in back in 1986, how much interest rates were. He said he got his interest rate that he got from the builder, because the builder financed it, was 12%. He said in 1986, most of the interest rates was like 15 to 20%. I can't fathom, because for the majority of my life, it hasn't been like that. But yet it creeps up a little bit, and we start to freak out. How many of you have access to view your pension? Has anyone made the mistake of looking at their pension? Yeah, if you haven't, don't do it. Don't do it. Because I'll tell you, my rate of return this year is negative 26%. And so you look at that for forever. I had this nice little steady this. And all of a sudden, like February, it's just been going down. And it hurts, especially when you see what that negative 26%, what it equates to. You're just like, oh, man. And I think, like, what if I had been at retirement age and I needed one more year of nice growth and I could retire, but now this whole year has gone the other direction? I might be in serious trouble. Why do I say this? It's because it's just evident riches, our money, it's uncertain. We can't rest our hopes and dreams on the physical paper because it changes day by day. Our financial plans need to be in the hands of the Lord. Now, that might be different for whoever's hearing this. Maybe it's you need to get out of debt. Well, your path to debt freedom, it's going to have ups and downs. But we have to understand that our progress isn't proportionate to the amount of effort that we put in. And that's because of one main thing, and that is that life is uncertain. There's always going to be unexpected things that happen. So it's important for us to have God's vision of progress. Our goal needs to be obedience. It needs to be obedience. And I read a devotion this week that talked about refining pure metal. And he was comparing, the author was comparing us to precious metal, gold or silver. And he said the thing is, when you refine gold and silver, the thing to think about is that you don't just stick the gold over the fire and in a matter of seconds it melts and you can refine it. It takes time. The heat has to be just right. The refiner has to hold the metal over the fire at just the right temperature so that it doesn't get too hot, because if it melts too quickly, the dross and the impurities won't rise to the surface. It takes time for that process. And so when it comes to our position, the things that God's trying to work in us, listen, we have to be refined for a little while. We have to withstand the uncertainty for a little bit, because the refiner, God, is working the things out of us. And once the time comes, once we reach the right temperature and the impurities float to the surface, once those impurities are removed, then each refining process becomes simpler and faster. Once the metal is cooled and reheated again to be refined again, it happens quicker and quicker and quicker. The same thing is true in life. Whenever we turn things over to God, yes, we have to endure ups and downs, uncertainties, unknown, but it's because we have to allow ourselves to get to the point where God can refine us. There's also a quote by Jacob Riis that speaks to this, that when he would struggle with things or uncertainties, he said, when nothing would seem to help, I would go out and look at a stone cutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it would split in two. And I knew that it was not that blow that did it, but it was the other that had gone before. Isn't it true? I mean, think about it. I mean, it might look like that we're not making progress, but every moment that we're obedient and we are faithful to God in all matters, not just our finances, God is shaping us. He is growing us. It's important to remember it's good to remember how important momentum is. And that's the thing about financial progress. It typically requires more of an effort on the front end and less on the back end. At the beginning, like I said, it doesn't go as quickly as we hoped. There are more hiccups than we had hoped. There are things we don't plan for when we make our budget or when we think about our payment sheet. But that doesn't mean that we just abandon it. We stay obedient, we stay faithful, and it continues to progress in the right way. If we don't have the right vision, if we don't have the right goals, then we'll never be able to be satisfied with God's gift. And that's why the second thing we should do is we should learn to enjoy God's gifts when we learn contentment. We need to learn some contentment. And this is really the message that Paul was charging Timothy with giving to these wealthy members of his church. He's saying, be content. Contentment leads to enjoyment. And it leads to being a faithful giver. Now, I said earlier, Paul is talking to the rich. And maybe you could hear that and you think, oh, that's not me. I'm surely not rich. Well, did you know that if after taxes you bring in more than $33,000 a year, did you know that you are in the top 4% of wealthiest people on earth? To put that in perspective, if you took 99 random people from around the world and you placed them in a room with you, then 96 of people in that room would be poorer than you, and only 3 would have more money. We don't think about it. We live with all these rich people. And we compare ourselves to the other rich people and how we're not rich as they are. But we are rich. We are blessed. And so how is it that we can be living more comfortably than 96% of the world and yet still feel like we don't have enough? I think Solomon hit the nail on the head when he wrote, the eyes of men are never satisfied. Listen, as the wealthiest man of his time, He knew, he concluded, he saw that there was no end point to when our desires would be filled. There was never a point when we would say enough is enough. Remember I said a few weeks ago, John D. Rockefeller, when they asked him, hey, John, when will you think you've made enough money? He's like, never, just a little bit more. He always answered that same thing, I just want a little bit more. It was never enough. You see, Paul knew that if those in Timothy's church had anything but contentment in God as their standard, they would end up in this miserable cycle when it came to money. That's how Satan kind of works in us. He wants us to waste our lives chasing after arbitrary goals. He wants us to believe the lie that our contentment is contingent upon our possessions or our circumstances. And all the while he tells us that, and we believe it, and he continuously moves the target. We can never quite get there. Right when we think we are, he moves the target. It's like our life is just a giant game of whack-a-mole. As soon as we acquire the thing that we believed would make us content, the next thing pops up, and we start to long and lust after it. And it goes on and on and on. We think that getting what we crave would satisfy us. But just like drinking salt water, it only increases the desire. It's only when we identify the source of our discontent that we were able to contend with the enemy. Listen, I know this well, okay? I like shiny, fancy things. I love technology. And I always, I want the newest, best, and greatest thing. Like, I have a perfectly working large television in my living room. But a friend of mine has a fancy television that when he turns it off, it looks like a picture. And when the first time I saw it, I was like, man, I want that. That is so cool. It's really not. I mean, it's a TV. It's just like my TV. And I'm sure if I finagled it, I could probably put a USB thing on there and put up a picture of the Mona Lisa on it and be like, hey, fancy artwork. But it was clear. His was clear. And I saw that and I was like, I need to have one. Now, fortunately, this happened at a later point in my life. I didn't go out and buy one. I will buy one someday. But then everyone else will have one too, so it won't be special. But I learned this lesson when I got a smartwatch. For years, I wanted a smartwatch. And so a couple years ago, I got snookered in at the Verizon store to get in a Samsung. And with that came like a special deal where you could get the new Samsung watch. And I was like, yeah, I want to get that. And it was great. It had a nice big face on it. I'd always wanted one. And so I got it, and I was super excited, and I wore it at first. Hey, now, don't go anywhere. And so I got there, and at first it was great. But then over time, like, little things started bothering me. And why did I want a smartwatch? Oh, and I see all you having them, and they look so cool on your wrist. I wanted one. But here's the thing about the smartwatch that started to bug me. With a normal watch, if you need to see what time it is, you can just go see the time. Now, I don't know if Apple watches are any different. With the Samsung watch, if I just did this, nothing. In order for the time to light up, I would have to do this motion right here. Oh, yep, this is the time it is. Yep. You know how annoying it is when you're sitting there kicked back and you're like, what time is it? So that was aggravating. And then I'm kicked back watching my football game or watching TV, and the thing buzzes me and says, time to get up and move. I'm like, time for you to hush and leave me alone. I'll move when I want to move. And then it'll remind you again, you still haven't moved yet. I'm like, I know this. Or then there were times that I got up and moved without being told, and it's like, congratulations, you moved. And I'm like, all right, I don't need to be insulted by a piece of technology. So I threw it in my bedside table drawer, and guess what? It's still there. I paid the thing off. I'm still paying for the line, and I don't use it. But why did I get that in the first place? Well, because it was fancy and it was shiny. I thought it was cool and everybody else had one, so I had to have one. And it was so great and so awesome, and I don't even use the thing. It's just collecting dust there in the drawer. Did I need the smartwatch? No. I wasn't content with what I had. It was just enticing me to get something that I didn't need. And that's why my friend with the super cool TV with the picture in the picture, and it looks like fancy art that he stole. The Lord reminded me, remember the smartwatch. I'm like, yeah, I remember that. But it took me a long time to get to that point. And so maybe you're that way, and maybe it's not electronics with you. Maybe it's cars. Maybe it's other things. But I could probably say that you can relate to me in that. And I think there are kind of two ways that we can really grow in contentment. Listen, we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people. You know, listen, I'm so glad that you have a smartwatch and that it works for you. And I will ask one question. For those of you with the Apple Watch, you have to do this. Can you just do this? Okay, I might be getting an Apple Watch. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. We have to compare ourselves to other people. Listen, Paul tells us this. We are called to run our own race. We're called to run our race. I'm not called to run your race, and you're not called to run mine. We are called to run our own race, and so we need to make a commitment to our race and not judging how other people are running their races. We don't need to look at how other people are spending their money. Let them do their own thing. You worry about you. We need to commit to bringing our finances always before the Lord and not feeling guilty about our own spending. Listen, if we're always faithful in our finances, if we're praying over them, if we're asking God to give us opportunities, if we're asking God to bless us and show us, and we are being faithful to his leading, I don't think there's anything wrong with you wanting to make a purchase, praying about it, and if you feel good about it, going through with it. But we have to stop buying and buying out of impulse and doing it because somebody else is doing it. We need to do it because we feel good in our soul. We feel like it's a good thing to do, that God is okay with us doing this. Secondly, we need to learn the contentment that practices gratitude. Remember, about this time a year ago, we did a whole series called An Attitude of Gratitude. We were coming out of COVID, and everyone was so down and gloomy. Woe is me. But the premise of that series was, look at all the things we have to be thankful for. How often do we focus on the one or two bad, and we just completely ignore all the blessings? And if you remember from that series, we said this, that practicing gratitude has physical health benefits. Studies have shown that being grateful in our thinking can increase happiness by as much as 25%. And that's a big thing that Simple Money Rich Life talks about. We need to focus on being grateful. Keep a gratitude journal. When something happens you're grateful for, just journal it. Write it down, how it made you feel. So when you're having a bad day, you can pop it out and read and remember. If you're not a journaler, when you go home, make you a list. 50 things I'm thankful for. Listen, when you begin to see and understand all the things that you have to be grateful for, you can be content with where you are. It shifts our perspective. And as our perspective changes, then we can learn to say no to our urges. We can actively seek out gratitude, and we can have more control over things, especially our finances. We no longer feel the urge to buy that new smartwatch, but we are content with what we have for the moment. The last thing that we have to do is we have to learn to enjoy God's gifts when we embrace rest. This is a big principle that we do not, as a society, as a westernized culture, we don't embrace. Do you want to know if your heart is bent toward hoping in God? You want to know if your heart is really focused on doing good and willing to share in and lay up treasures in heaven? The answer is, are you able to rest from your work? If you can take a Sabbath rest, there's a good chance that your heart is positioned to be hoping in God and following him. Listen, for driven people, for workaholic people, for people whose identity is in their career and what they do, taking a day off is probably the craziest thing they've ever heard of. Do nothing? Can't do that. My to-do list. Oh my gosh, I have so much to do on my to-do list. I can't just do nothing. And so if you're one of those people, listen, to take a day of rest is a pretty big act of faith. It's probably a little terrifying. Probably you might even feel irresponsible if you do it. Because you're sitting there thinking, this is so irresponsible of me. I have so many things I could be doing right now. But listen, the Sabbath exists because it's an invitation to trust God with those things on the to-do list. It's an opportunity to say, God, you know what? This thing right here, it seems urgent and it seems important, but I am choosing to let it sit until tomorrow and instead rest and enjoy this day that you have made. I am choosing to trust that you are the one in control and that you will work out all the things on my plate. You will help me accomplish this to-do list. Today, I'm going to rest in you and be thankful for what you have given to me. Enjoying a Sabbath rest is telling our hearts that Jesus has already accomplished everything on our behalf. That we don't have to worry about tomorrow because he's taking care of tomorrow. And realizing that without him, there is no rest to be enjoyed. Because he is the source of everything. He is the source of everything that replenishes us. He is the source of everything that infuses our lives with joy. No matter how many balls we seem to be juggling, with Jesus on our side, we can fully enjoy rest because Jesus is making it available to us. I'm sure you've heard it said before that life is not for the faint of heart. And it's true because it's full of obstacles and challenges and mountains that have to be moved. And all the while, the world is just spinning at this dizzying pace. But in the midst of it all, God has just dispensed so much beauty. He has given us so many gifts to enjoy. I don't know about you, but I want to enjoy the moment. While I'm here, one thing is true as my kids grow, and I realize how fast it goes. And yes, there are days when they're driving me insane, and I'm like, I can't wait. They're out of the house. But then I'm sure when that day comes, I'll just be like, oh, I want them back. I want to enjoy every day. I want to enjoy every moment. Listen, I want to be able to just to take stock when I'm at those mountaintops of success and thank God, and then even to stop and thank him and seek him when I'm in the valley. I want to take this life and use it all as greatly as I can for his glory. I want to earn all that I can by working heartily for him. I want to give all that I can with boldness. And I want to enjoy him in all of it. God offers me the chance to serve him well and to glorify him in every way. And I want to embrace those moments before those moments are gone forever. Listen, we're only here for a short while. And then hopefully we're on to heaven. And as great as heaven will be, I am so convinced of that. And as much as I want to go there, and as much as I can't wait to get there, I am convinced, though, that God has made this time on earth special. And we are to enjoy it for a reason. And so it's because it's here when we have the opportunity to trust God without seeing him. It's here that we have the opportunity to give faithfully without truly understanding the impact. It's here that we have the opportunity to walk by faith in a way even the angels won't able to ever really be able to understand. Listen, in this lifetime, we get one shot to make the most of these opportunities. So I'll ask you a question that the poet Mary Oliver said many years ago. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Tell me, what is your plan? You got one shot. Are you going to believe the lies and deceit of the world, or are you going to give it over to God and say, God, I'm trusting you with every single thing to see how incredible it can be? For one shot? What are you? Let's pray together. Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for this series and just really the idea that, man, this money, possession, things, none of it is ours. It all belongs to you. We're just stewards of it. And you want to bless us. And you want to give us good gifts and not just so that we can splurge and build up ourselves treasures, but so that we can enjoy our life. So that, more importantly, so that we can bring glory and we can bring honor to your name. So, Father, I don't know where we are as far as our thoughts on all this. I hope that, God, that we prayed this week. Remember, we said last week that we were going to pray and ask you, God, start me on the path. How can I be more intentional to show us where we could give and we could cheerfully give? Lord, I hope you've answered that prayer, and I hope that today is the day we can begin that process. But Lord, most importantly, everything that we're doing is it's not for selfish ambition, it's not for conceitedness, it's not for ourselves, God. That I think what this series has taught me and this book has shown me is that everything in our life, every aspect, that even our finances are more about giving you glory, I think, than I ever realized. And Lord, I just want to say, and I want to give you it. I want to give it all. I want you to have it all. I want to enjoy it all for you. I want to see you use what you've given me to just bless the kingdom of God. Because you're right, I may never know the impact until I get to heaven, but I would much rather get to heaven and learn about it there and have person after person after person come by or instances play in front of me of this is how I made a difference for the kingdom, rather than this is an opportunity and this is an opportunity and this is an opportunity that you missed because you wouldn't trust it. And God, I'm sure there are other people here that feel that same way. And so, Lord, I just pray that you would begin the change that we need, that you would give us the focus and the desire and the passion to just seek you, to calm ourselves and go before you and to seek you. May we listen to what you have to say. May we trust your leading. And even though it may be difficult and it may be hard, Lord, just give us the assurance. When our mind is screaming at us, no, don't do it, we can say, yes, hey, God, I know this is from you. I know this is what you want, and I'll do it. And Lord, as we do that more often, I just pray that you would begin to open up doors and opportunities, ways that we can serve you, ways that we can be a blessing, and that we would know that it's from you, so that we would be encouraged all the more to continue to seek. So, Father, this is our prayer. This is what we're asking of you this morning, and I just pray through the power of the Holy Spirit that you would help each and every one of us to be able to make an impact and a difference. God, that's what we want. That's what we seek. And I pray you would allow it to be possible through us. We ask it now in Jesus' name. We're going to finish and we're going to sing a final closing song. And we're going to sing I Am Your Beloved. And I love this song. It is a great song. It's always good to end with it. And I'll ask you to stand and let this just be a closing song, but also be a prayer and just a time for us to really connect with God. And if God's speaking to you and you want to meet after or talk with me, you can. If there's something that you're nervous about, you want to write on the Connect card and drop it in the box, you can do that. But I hope you know that I'll be there for you, pray for you any way I can. I want to see you succeed. And so with that in mind, let's tune our focus and our attention to God, and let's just sing this song of worship to Him one more time.
heard the accusation, and I've heard the propaganda. I've heard the lies they whispered to my soul. That I have been forsaken, and I'll always be forgotten. No matter what I do, it's not enough. But then I heard a voice as it opened up the heavens, reminding me of who I've always been. I am your beloved, you have bought me with your blood, and on your hand you've written out my name. I am your beloved, one the Father loves. Mercy has defeated all my shame. There's no accusation or any condemnation when I look into my Father's eyes. They don't see my sin, they only see redemption. This is how my heart has been defined. I can hear a voice that is louder than the thunder, reminding me of who I've always been. I am your beloved, you have bought me with your blood, and on your hand you've written out my name. I am your beloved, one the Father loves. Mercy has defeated all my shame. One who knows me best is the one who loves me most. There is nothing I have done that could change the Father's love. The one who knows me best is the one who loves me most. There is nothing I have done that could change the Father's love. The one who am your beloved, one the Father loves. Mercy has defeated all my shame.
Thank you guys for being here today. It was so awesome to be with you. Thank you so much for all that you guys have done for me, and the love that you've shown. Man, it's been incredible. This will take me through for a while. I really appreciate it. I feel appreciated. So that was, I guess, the goal. You succeeded. But I'll invite you back next Sunday. We're starting a new series, but it's a principle that is very near and dear to us. It's on your Bridge Church series called Love God, Love People. And we're going to be talking about that for the month of November. And then we're going to get into Christmas. So, but yeah, just join us for that. We're going to talk about how we can just make sure that we're better stewards of God's love. And I'd love to have you for the next few weeks to talk about that. But have a great week, a great Sunday. For all of you that are going trick-or-treating tomorrow, be careful. Listen, don't eat candy that's out of the wrapper. And don't steal all your kids' Skittles. Listen, it's okay to have some insurance, but listen, don't leave them, okay? And I'm telling myself that as much as anyone else, okay? But anyway, God bless you guys. Thank you for being here. You're dismissed. See you next week. Take care.